All right, so are you ready to dive deep into the world of J.D. Vance,
I'm ready.
America's brand new VP? Everybody wants to know more about him.
Right. Oh, wow.
Let's get right into it.
It's too good.
I mean, it's pretty crazy, right? This guy goes from like Trump skeptic
Yeah.
to like Superfan.
It is a whirlwind rise for sure.
Big time.
Especially, when you consider that he was so against Trump in the beginning.
Publicly regretted it even.
Exactly. I mean, he even called him the best president in my lifetime.
It's a pretty big turnaround.
Huge.
So I think it's interesting how this kind of reflects a bigger trend in American politics. You know what I mean?
It really does. It raises all these questions about, like, how these political allegiances even form and, like, how they change so much over time.
Why does somebody go from skeptic to superfan?
It's a puzzle, a psychological puzzle, a sociological puzzle.
Huge puzzle.
A fascinating one, though.
For sure. Yep. But let's kind of like zoom in on Vance himself a little bit.
Okay.
What's going on in this guy's head?
Yeah, what makes him tick?
Yeah, he's got this like unique intellectual cocktail that's like influencing his worldview.
You can say that again?
So let's break that down.
Okay, well, for instance, his conversion to Catholicism.
Oh, yeah. That was interesting.
It's linked to, like, his interest in this philosopher, René Girard,
Okay.
who Peter Thiel also studied.
Peter Thiel, remind me.
Oh, he's a tech investor,
Sure.
big Trump supporter.
Okay, got it.
So Girard's theories, they're complex.
Okay.
But one of the main ideas is, like, this mimetic desire.
Mimetic desire.
Yeah, it's like we end up wanting things
Mhm.
just because we see other people wanting them.
Okay.
And it leads to all this rivalry and conflict.
Okay. That's pretty deep.
Yeah.
So how does this connect to Vance's politics, though?
Right. It's not like a direct connection.
Okay.
But Girard also talks about how, like, societies deal with conflict through, like, scapegoating, blaming certain people or groups to keep things in order.
Got it.
So whether Vance, like, consciously uses these ideas or not, who knows?
Yeah.
But it's interesting to think about how this framework of mimetic desire and scapegoating might, influence how he sees things like immigration or economic competition.
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I see how that could work.
Right.
He's clearly like thought about this stuff a lot,
Yeah.
but he's influenced by other thinkers too,
Right.
right? Like Rod Dreher
Yes.
and Curtis Yarvin, Patrick Deneen.
You got it.
Pretty controversial names, especially for like the liberal crowd.
Oh, for sure. They definitely represent a very, like, conservative,
Okay.
sometimes even, like, contrarian way of thinking.
Oh.
Like Dreher, for example.
Yeah.
He's all about this Benedict option,
Okay.
where traditional Christians basically, like, withdraw from the mainstream culture
Okay.
to, like, protect their values.
Huh.
Yarvin, on the other hand, he's got these super radical ideas about governing. He even talks about bringing back monarchy in some cases.
Whoa.
And then Deneen, he's a critic of liberalism.
Okay.
He thinks it's, like, destroyed communities and virtue.
So quite a mix of influences.
Definitely a mixed bag.
So how does this all like play out in his policies?
Oh,
like
yeah.
what can we actually expect to see from Vance's VP?
That's the big question.
Yeah, what's he going to do?
Well, if his speeches tell us anything,
Okay.
border security is, like, top of his list.
Okay.
He's talked about it again and again and again.
Makes sense.
The need to secure the border. And he connects it to so many things.
Like what?
Like immigration, of course.
Hmm.
But national security, even economic fairness.
So it's not just about like keeping people out?
No, it's way more complex than that for him.
Interesting. And he's not exactly shy about expressing his opinions, is he?
Not at all.
Remember that drill baby drill line?
Oh, yeah, when he was talking about energy independence.
Yeah.
Classic Vance.
He's not afraid to use some strong language.
Nope.
I kind of like that about him.
It definitely reflects a certain boldness,
Yeah.
a willingness to, like, challenge the way people usually think about things.
For sure.
And this applies to his economic policies, too.
Okay, how so?
He's a huge advocate for bringing back American manufacturing,
Uh.
and he's pretty skeptical of things like Chinese-made electric vehicles.
Interesting.
It's all part of his vision for a more self-reliant America.
Okay, so like made in America.
Exactly. Bring those jobs back.
But with a modern twist.
You got it.
All right, so that's the idea, but like how does he plan to actually make that happen?
Well, from what we've seen, he's all about lowering taxes,
Okay.
reducing regulations,
Uh-huh.
and basically just making it easier for American businesses to compete globally.
So he sees that as the key.
He does. He thinks that's how we create jobs, boost the economy, and, get that national pride back.
Okay, so we're starting to get a clearer picture of like Vance's political DNA.
Yeah, we are.
It's like this blend of, intellectual influences, a strong America First agenda.
Right.
And a willingness to, like, shake things up.
He's not afraid to ruffle some feathers.
Exactly. But how does this actually play out? You know?
Oh, good question.
Like, in the real world, how did he do in the VP debate, for example?
Well, that's where his communication skills really shine.
Oh, yeah.
Even the New York Times, not exactly a pro-Trump publication.
Right.
They admitted he did a good job.
What do they say?
They praised his ability to, like, weave personal stories into the policy discussions.
So he's not just, like, throwing out facts and figures.
No, he's making it personal, connecting with the audience on an emotional level.
Interesting.
And he was really effective at targeting his opponents while doing that.
Smart.
Very.
So he's a good storyteller.
He is.
Makes it relatable.
Exactly.
But didn't he also get some criticism for not acknowledging Trump's loss in 2020 during the debate?
Yeah, that was a bit of a head-scratcher.
Seemed like a pretty big thing to just ignore.
It did, and it definitely raised questions about where he stands on election integrity.
Which is still a super sensitive topic.
Oh, absolutely. A major flashpoint in American politics.
So that's something to keep an eye on.
For sure. How will he address this going forward?
Yeah, how will he handle that?
Will he stick with Trump's claims, or will he try to distance himself a little?
Lots of questions.
Yeah.
So we've covered a lot, his unusual path to the VP role, his diverse intellectual influences, his bold policy positions,
Yes.
even his performance in the debate.
Definitely.
But the big question is, what's next for J.D. Vance?
Yeah, where does he go from here?
Could he be the next Trump? Could he be president?
Well, that's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
And it's impossible to say for sure, but there are definitely some signs pointing in that direction.
Like what?
Well, his connection to the Trump base is strong.
Yeah.
He's clearly ambitious, and the political landscape is, always changing.
Always shifting.
So it's definitely a possibility.
It feels like we're just at the beginning of J.D. Vance's story on the national stage.
Oh.
And I have a feeling it's going to be a wild ride.
I think so, too. Buckle up.
Definitely a story full of surprises.
Yeah, we'll be watching closely as he settles into his role as VP.
For sure. Keeping an eye on all his moves.
Absolutely.
It's one thing to, like, read about Vance's policies and his debate strategies.
Yeah.
But it's another to actually, like, see him in action.
Right.
And I was really struck by how he was willing to, like, go out into the heartland.
Okay.
And hold these town halls and rallies,
Yeah.
engaging directly with everyday Americans.
That's a really good point.
It really stood out to me.
Yeah, it speaks to his whole approach to politics.
Oh, so?
Well, he's not just like, sitting in some ivory tower,
right,
dictating policy from afar.
Exactly.
He's out there on the ground connecting with people, hearing their concerns firsthand.
Totally. It's like he's building a movement from the ground up.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like bypassing the media and speaking directly to his base.
Interesting.
And he doesn't, like, shy away from tough questions either.
He doesn't.
I remember watching this one interview where he was, like, grilled about his stance on illegal immigration.
Oh, yeah.
And he did not back down.
He seems to like those moments.
He does.
Even when he's facing, skepticism or hostility.
It's like he leans into it.
He does. And he frames it as an issue of fairness.
Okay.
Like putting the needs of American workers and citizens first.
Right.
And that message that really resonates with a certain segment of the population.
Yeah.
Especially the people who feel like their voices aren't being heard,
Totally. Like they've been ignored by the political system.
Exactly.
It's like he's tapping into this, like, deep vein of anxiety and frustration.
Yeah.
Particularly among those who feel left behind by globalization and, like, all the economic shifts.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, his speeches constantly emphasize the need to revitalize American manufacturing,
right,
reduce our reliance on other countries, bring back jobs,
He's got that whole, like, make America great again vibe.
Yeah, he does. He paints this picture of the future where American communities are thriving again,
Yeah.
with good paying jobs and a sense of purpose.
It's a powerful narrative.
It is, and it's clearly working for him.
And he's not just talking about it, he's actually putting forward policy proposals.
He is.
What?
Well, he's a big advocate for tax cuts for businesses,
Okay.
deregulation efforts, investments in infrastructure and workforce development.
So he's putting his money where his mouth is.
He argues that these policies will create a better environment for American businesses.
Okay.
So they can compete globally, lead to more jobs and, economic growth.
So it's like a classic supply side approach.
It is, but with this populist twist.
Okay, I see that.
He's framing it as a way to empower American workers and communities.
Not just corporations and the wealthy.
Exactly.
And he's been super critical of the Biden administration's handling of the economy.
Oh, yeah.
Blaming their policies for inflation and high energy costs.
He's drawing a very clear contrast
between his vision and theirs.
Yes, between a strong, prosperous America and what he sees as the Biden administration's failures.
Yeah, to address those economic anxieties that people are feeling.
Right.
It's interesting, though, because his rhetoric is definitely more, like, combative.
It is.
Than what we're used to from most politicians.
For sure.
He's not afraid to go on the offensive.
Yeah, and he uses humor.
Oh, yeah.
And sarcasm to criticize his opponents.
I remember that one line he had.
Which one?
About, like, if you're afraid to answer questions from friendly reporters, how can you stand up to world leaders?
Oh, yeah.
Like, that was such a good line.
It was a good jab, for sure.
It landed.
And his base loved it.
He's good at using humor and rhetoric.
Yeah.
To, like, deflect criticism and make himself look like the champion of the people.
The people's champ fighting against the corrupt elite.
Exactly. And it seems to be working.
It does, at least for now.
It's not just about the economy, though, right?
Yeah.
He's also, like, appealing to this sense of cultural anxiety, this feeling that traditional values are being eroded.
Yeah, he talks a lot about the importance of faith, family, and community.
Right.
And he criticizes what he sees as the excesses of liberalism and the cultural elite.
It's a message that resonates with a lot of voters.
For sure, particularly in rural areas.
Yeah.
And among people who feel like their way of life is under attack.
You know, one thing that really stands out to me.
What's that?
Is his emphasis on empowering local communities.
Okay.
Like giving them more control over their own affairs.
Interesting.
He wants to shift power away from the federal government and back towards states and cities.
That's a big part of his vision for America.
He believes that decisions should be made closer to the people.
Yeah.
And that communities should have the power to govern themselves according to their own values and priorities.
That's going to appeal to a lot of conservatives.
It will, but also some libertarians.
Right.
And even some progressives who are, like, disillusioned with Washington.
It's a pretty broad appeal.
It is. It's fascinating how he's, like, weaving together all these different ideas.
He is.
Like economic populism, cultural conservatism, and limited government.
It's a unique blend, for sure.
Into a coherent political philosophy.
It's definitely challenging those traditional political categories. He's not just a conservative or a libertarian or a populist.
Yeah.
He's drawing from all these different traditions.
To create something new.
Exactly, and something pretty unpredictable.
So we've got this picture of Vance as, like, this policy wonk with a populist touch. A skilled communicator who can connect with people.
Right.
And a potential future leader with a vision for a different kind of America.
A very different America.
But beyond the policies and the speeches, there's something about his style that's just, like, intriguing.
I agree. There's a certain charisma.
Yeah.
A relatability that sets them apart.
He's not afraid to use humor.
Yeah.
Even self-deprecating humor.
To connect with the audience.
I remember watching this speech where he joked about being awkward.
Oh.
And it totally disarmed the crowd.
It did.
Made him seem more human.
More approachable.
Yeah.
His communication style is definitely more conversational.
It is.
Less formal than what we're used to from politicians.
Right. Like he's just having a conversation with you.
Yeah, he comes across as genuine, someone who gets it. You know?
Understands the struggles of everyday Americans.
Exactly. And he's a great storyteller.
Yeah.
Weaving those personal anecdotes into his speeches.
To make his points.
And connect with people emotionally.
Yeah. It's a powerful technique.
It is.
And he uses it really effectively.
He does. It allows him to humanize these complex policy issues.
Right.
And make them resonate with a wider audience.
He's not just talking about abstract ideas.
No, he's talking about real people.
And their lives.
And that makes a huge difference.
It does.
It's something a lot of politicians have forgotten about.
Sad, but true.
They get so caught up in the game, you know?
The talking points, the fundraising.
They forget about the people they're supposed to be representing.
It's all about winning.
Exactly.
But Vance, he seems genuinely interested in connecting with people.
He does.
Understanding their concerns and, like, offering solutions.
Yeah, whether you agree with his policies or not.
Yeah.
It's hard to deny his authenticity.
I think that's a key part of his appeal.
I agree.
He's not just another polished politician.
He's not.
He's someone who's willing to speak his mind.
Even if it upsets people.
And that kind of street talk is refreshing.
Very refreshing in today's political climate.
It's like he's saying, here I am, take it or leave it.
Yeah.
And a lot of people are taking it.
They're drawn to his authenticity, his boldness, his willingness to challenge the status quo.
And that's what makes him so fascinating to watch.
Absolutely. He's a wild card.
Yeah.
We don't know what to expect from him.
It's exciting.
And a little bit scary.
It's pretty wild, right? Like how quickly things can change in politics.
Yeah, it's crazy.
It feels like J.D. Vance getting that VP spot is like a real turning point.
Yeah.
You know?
It makes you wonder what it means for the future.
Yeah, like where is American politics headed?
Right. We're used to seeing a certain path to power, but Vance's rise is like a whole different story.
He's like a total disruptor.
Yeah, he really is.
Like he showed everyone that you can challenge the establishment, bypass the media, and connect directly with voters.
In a way we haven't seen before.
Yeah, it's a whole new game.
It's fascinating how he used social media and grassroots organizing and that direct connection with people
to build this powerful movement.
It's a new playbook.
Yeah, other politicians are going to be studying this.
Oh, for sure.
But it's not just about the tech-savvy campaigning either.
No.
He's also not afraid to, like, challenge his own party.
Yeah, that's a big one.
He's willing to criticize those establishment figures and push for policies that appeal to a populist base.
Regardless of party lines.
Makes him a real force to be reckoned with.
You can't ignore him.
It's like he's tapped into this deep well of discontent.
Yeah.
Giving a voice to those who feel like they've been ignored.
The unheard, the unseen.
Exactly.
His focus on economic anxiety, cultural, divides that erosion of traditional values.
It's resonating with a lot of people.
A lot of people feel that way.
And he's able to articulate these concerns in a way that's both relatable and powerful.
He can fire people up.
He can't, but we got to acknowledge the other side too.
Of course.
Like his critics see his rhetoric as divisive, even dangerous.
Yeah, some people say he's fueling resentment.
And undermining social cohesion.
It's a valid concern.
It is. It makes you wonder how he'll balance appealing to his base with promoting unity and understanding across the political spectrum.
It's a tough balancing act.
A lot of politicians struggle with that.
For sure.
So as he steps into this VP role, will he like moderate his tone or double down on the rhetoric that got him there?
We'll have to wait and see.
Time will tell.
So we've done a lot of digging here.
We have this deep dive into J.D. Vance.
What are the big takeaways?
Yeah, what have we learned?
Well, for one, he's completely changed the game.
Yeah.
He's shown that this populist outsider approach can actually work.
You don't have to follow the traditional path.
Not anymore.
He challenged the establishment, ignored the media, connected directly with voters.
Using authenticity, social media savvy, and, addressing those uncomfortable truths that people are afraid to talk about.
He wasn't afraid to say what he thought.
No, he wasn't.
So it raises some big questions about the future of politics.
Definitely, like, will his approach become the new normal?
Right. Will we see a bunch of Vance-inspired candidates in the next election?
Interesting questions.
And what about the policies?
Yeah.
Like, is he actually going to be able to do what he says?
Will his focus on economic nationalism, border security, those cultural issues, will they actually translate into action?
That remains to be seen.
Only time will tell.
But one thing's for sure.
What's that?
He's not going to be a passive VP.
No, he's not.
He's going to be a vocal advocate for what he believes in.
And he's going to push for change.
It's going to be interesting to watch.
It will. His story's not over yet.
This is just the beginning.
The J.D. Vance story is a testament to how dynamic American politics really is.
It's unpredictable. Things can change so fast.
He's someone we need to pay attention to.
Yeah.
His story is going to keep unfolding.
Well, that was quite a deep dive.
It was.
We've learned a lot about J.D. Vance.
His influences, his policies, his style.
Yeah, his potential impact.
So what do you think? What stood out to you?
Yeah. Head over to the comments and let us know.
And don't forget to like and subscribe.
Yeah, for more deep dives into the topics that matter.
Thanks for listening.
We'll see you next time.